recording right now. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our moderators, our presenters this morning. We have Amber Burroughs and Carlos Castro-Peralta. A quick introduction from them. Amber Burroughs was born in Salinas, California, but has spent most of her life in Reno. She is a first-generation college student with a bachelor's in human development and family studies and a master's in higher education administration from UNR. She has worked for Truckee Meadows Community College for the past 8 years in a variety of roles. She currently serves as a program manager over a program for unemployment adult learners called the Jacobs Presidential Scholars Program, and she oversees adult and non-traditional recruitment. Amber is passionate about career and technical education and helps students reach their ultimate goals in life. Carlos was born in Morales, Mexico. At the age of 10, he moved to Lake Tahoe, where later on he graduated from Incline High School. He completed his bachelor's degree in information systems at UNR and recently completed his MBA program at UNR as well. He began his higher education career working for a TRIO program at UNLV with Educational Opportunities Center, or EOC. As an academic counselor for EOC, Carlos assisted adults with pre-GED testing, college admissions applications, FAFSA completions, and class enrollment process. After 10 years living in Vegas, Carlos decided it was time to come back to Reno. The timing was perfect. He was hired as a recruiter for adult and non-traditional students at Truckee Meadows Community College. So without further ado, take it away, Amber and Carlos. Thank you.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our session today. Thank you all for being here with us. And I'm going to share my screen now, and we're just going to get rolling. So here we go. Hopefully everyone can see it. Carlos, can you give me a little thumbs up once it goes? All right, good to go here. So thank you for being with us today. Like Deborah said, my name is Amber Burroughs, and I'm here with Carlos Castro-Peralta today. We're going to talk to you a little bit about some special considerations for recruiting our adult and non-traditional learners. And for us, this is very, personal with what we do, because I've been working for TMCC for about 9 years now. And during that time, when I first started, we had a huge emphasis on recruitment for high school students, but there was not much of an emphasis for adult or non-traditional learners. So because of that, we were able to work with our leadership to create a position specifically for that. And that is where Carlos came on board about 3 years ago, just to work with our adult and non-traditional students and help us with community recruitment. So we were very fortunate to have that. And at the time when I started, we were at about 40% adult learners, and that's not including non-traditional students. So for the community college, it's a huge population, and we're happy that we get to focus on it. So one thing that we want to kind of emphasize is, what is an adult or non-traditional learner? What are the characteristics of that kind of student? So the National Center for Education Statistics actually has 7 different categories that students can fall under in order to be considered a non-traditional learner. And that means that students can either be one or several of these. And so students could be delayed enrollment into college, meaning they didn't come right out of high school. Have dependents, of course, have some kiddos at home. That's our adult and non-traditional students. They could be single parents. Maybe they're employed full-time, financially independent, attending part-time, no high school diploma. Honestly, for the community college level, the majority of students fall into one of these categories as a non-traditional student. So when we work on our recruitment, we are really working on our community. And we are, of course, in the Reno-Sparks area, so that is what we serve. We want to show you this video. Strata, of course, is a wonderful organization that puts on lots of different, different webinars. And of course, they produce lots of videos and studies and research. And so this is one video that was made by Strata talking about some adult learner barriers. And we want to play this for you so you can get the student perspective.
I feel like I could learn to do most jobs, but I understand the reality of the job market is you have to come in saying, I already know how to do this. No one's going to give you 6 months to figure out how to do a job.
I was laid off And for the first time, the relevance of not having a degree became manifest, because even though I had years upon years, over 20 years of experience doing all these different things, the first question they were asking is, so where'd you go to school? The last time I actually had to go looking for a job, we did things like talk to people face to face, and that's completely gone now. And you just end up getting put into a slot. And as a result, they don't know who you are. They just look at, has he gone to school? No. So then you go into that pile.
Money. Because you don't learn how to finance when you're poor, you're poor. So you don't learn how to look, you almost ignore your finances. And I had to learn to look at them to be able to manage them. But that's a huge, overwhelming gap.
But I knew that in order to make a livable wage, at the time, I think they were paying me like a little over minimum wage, which you can't live on if you wanted to. I needed to put something in front of my name or behind my name to, one, separate myself from being a criminal, and also to make me legitimate in some ways.
Generally, my routine was, I didn't have a car at the time. I was riding a bicycle, and I would put my children on the school bus for school and ride my bike and clean houses for the doctors and the dentists down in, in the high-end neighborhoods, and then ride my bike up to school, and I'd, audio tape my classes and ride home and meet the kids, and then let them play and cook dinner and do all those preparatory things that you do with children. And after they're bathed and they're sitting there, watching TV or relaxing before bed, I put my headsets, listen to my lecture again, and I'd be sewing wedding dresses at this long table that I had, and I would just be sewing dresses and listening to the lecture. On the weekends, I was driving a taxi.
I mean, when I went to orientation, it was crazy. It was overwhelming. I saw all these young people like sitting next to me, and I was like, I do not belong here. Like, what am I doing? These are kids that are coming out of high school, and I can be their mother. That's what I'm going to be in the classroom, and I really don't want to be that. Plus, I have experience. I have experience. I don't have a paper that can show that I have knowledge.
I can say yes or no. Have you ever been convicted? That question on the application, that the box, right? So that question comes up. So I'm just like, how am I supposed to succeed? Like, everything keeps you stuck. Like, you can only do so much. They want me to work doing construction, like mindless work, but that's not me. I can work with my hands, but my mind is it's not being fed. My mind needs to be fed for me to feel like I'm encouraged, like I'm involved in something.
People are working hard. People are working so hard, and people don't have opportunities that other people have. And it doesn't mean they're not smart.
It felt like punishment, just to try to get ahead. I have this go get it spirit, but I was never in a position or given that supportive hope to keep going forward. You know what I mean? And I knew that's where I wanted to go, was forward.
The Greek word to incite means to put a flame underneath. And I want to incite some learning as well as some dreaming.
All right, everyone. So that is a video to really depict, what some of the challenges and the struggles are that our adult learners go through when they're thinking about entering into college, and also while they're there. And all of those stories reflect the things that we've heard for many years from students on how they feel. And we just kind of want to go over a few of those barriers just to kind of highlight what they were saying. And then after this, I'm going to toss it over to Carlos, and he's going to talk about some of the awesome strategies that we've used to help students overcome those barriers and be successful in the college environment. And so 3 of the primary barriers that students list as issues to enrolling are competing obligations and logistics, And of course, that makes sense if you've got a family at home, transportation issues, you're taking the bus, things like that. Self-doubt is huge. We heard some of the students in the video talk about that they fear that they won't be successful. You know, they might have been out of school for so long. And so self-doubt can be real. And also cost, of course, cost. Anything that has a dollar sign attached to it. If you're coming from a low income background, like I did, anything that shows that you have to pay a certain amount can deter you from going and pursuing your dreams. And so those are things that we have to really address with our students. And just to kind of highlight a few of those things, of course, soft skills, psychological barriers, as we know, especially with the COVID-19 pandemic situation, we've encountered tons of students having a lot of mental health issues, but also just the psychological barriers of the self-doubt. I'm not sure if they'll be able to make it. And then childcare, my goodness, I'm sure tons of you guys out there can even relate as working professionals, that it's very difficult to not only find childcare, but also have that while you're going to school and trying to balance out your schedule. And then the housing market. I think the chancellor actually mentioned at the beginning, if you guys watched the intro earlier, that the housing market's really difficult in our area and in Nevada right now. It's hard to find an affordable place to live. And if you don't have an affordable place to live, how can you think about pursuing education? You really got to work with your Maslow's hierarchy with your adult learners. And some of the basic computer skills. I know, for instance, my mom is totally not able to do anything on the computer. So if it comes to something like that, it scares her away from pursuing things. And unless she has me right next to her, how would she ever succeed? And I think those are things that we have to work with our students on. And of course, we always mention finances. Money is real. The cost is a real barrier. And lastly, on barriers, of course, transportation, understanding that not all of our students have a car to get to our campuses. And for TMCC, for instance, we're a commuter campus. So we have 4 different locations that students might get to, and they have to use the bus system to get there. Something that could take me 15 minutes might take them an hour and a half to get there. We have to be cognizant of that. And also understanding that not everyone has the same technological resources. For a while, I was using a Chromebook at home. That didn't give me what I needed in order to be successful in my work. So I had to get another laptop, and then you have to get a desktop, things like that. So what are the resources students need? Balancing your schedule. And also, if students don't have their high school diploma as adult and non-traditional learners, how do we connect them with GED, with HSE, high school equivalency? How do we connect them? And just a belief in the college system. Right now, what we're seeing across the country is that students are kind of lacking in thinking that, you know, the college system they don't really need to go to college in order to be successful. So how do we even instill in them that it's not just about getting the degree, but also just everything that comes along with being in college? And with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Carlos now to talk about some of the strategies that we've utilized at TMCC and that we've seen as best practices across the country for assisting adult and non-traditional learners.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Thank you for joining us. And thank you, Amber, for the wonderful introduction to the adult learner and the barriers they struggle with day in and day out in order to be a successful student at a university or a college. And something I always like to do before my presentations, whenever I'm out in the community talking with adults or in a virtual webinar, I like to tell them about my experience working at UNLV at the TRIO program, helping adults get their GED and going through the enrollment process to enroll in classes, college classes. But most importantly, I let them know that I know about the barriers that they're going through. I let them know they're a lot different than a traditional high school student, where the high school student is just getting started with school and that's their only focus. They live at home, they don't have to pay bills, they don't have children probably, or a job sometimes. So before I start my presentations with the adult prospective student, I let them know that I understand how different they are from the traditional high school student and that it is gonna be difficult, but I'm gonna be here as their network, their supporter, someone to encourage them, and someone to answer any questions they may have. Like Amber said, a lot of the adults also don't have someone at home that knows how the college system works. So they don't understand how credits work. Everything has deadlines, everything needs to be done so far ahead of time. And we have to explain and break it down step by step. Once I noticed myself changing my presentations where I first acknowledge all those barriers, I noticed how my presentations went so much better. I noticed that the adults paid a little more attention and felt a little more safe and ready to ask questions and really felt comfortable. And I noticed I started building that trust and the relationship with that student. So I always recommend before you talk to an adult and tell them about the steps to enroll or tell them about the things that your college has to offer, first talk about the other things, the other barriers that they may be encountering, and then try addressing those and then continue with your regular presentation. So right now, some of the strategies we're using, we're doing weekly presentations. Some are during lunch and some are during evenings. As an adult recruiter, I understand that my job is not a regular 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. job. We have to make sure we're available whenever the adults are available. In order to get access to the information from the students, we have asked our institutional research department to give us information about the last 4 years, how many students applied to our college or actually did not enroll to our college. And that student came out to be, that list came out to be about 8,000, 9,000 students. So what we're doing right now is we're texting the students, about 800 students at a time on Mondays, and then we're inviting them to a weekly workshop. And surprisingly, we have seen better attendance during our lunch workshops. And we believe in the evening workshops or adult students are maybe having dinner with their kids or just they just got back from work, or we've noticed that during the evenings, they're a lot more busy. So we're really trying to reach out to them during our lunch breaks. Another key strategy that we use is one-on-one outreach. We always want to encourage the student to call us to have a one-on-one outreach. Before the pandemic, I encourage our students to meet me at the Applied Technology campus. That's where my office is. And just let them see the campus. Let them feel it. Let them know that they belong there and then they can succeed there. The Applied Technology campus at TMCC includes programs like automotive, diesel, welding, HVAC, advanced manufacturing, machining. All of these programs are high demand here in Northern Nevada. And I like giving the students tours of the campus. Our instructors are always so welcoming. They take 5 minutes, 10 minutes to talk to the students and answer any questions. At the end of that 1 hour one-on-one session, the student knows so much information and they're so ready, they're excited, and they feel so encouraged, so motivated to get ready and get started with the classes. Personalize your recruitment efforts. With this, one of the questions I always ask my students is, who encouraged you to go to college, or why did you decide to come see us or try us out? And what I really want to do here is gauge their network, their encouraging team. A lot of our students say either their significant other or their boss or their parents or their friends. And I always like hearing when a prospective student has several people encouraging them and telling them about college. What really worries me is when a student really says nobody. Like, I don't know anyone that went to college. My brothers, my sisters, my cousins, I don't know anyone. And I just kind of saw an ad somewhere and I decided to go to college. With this student, make a special note with this student. Make sure you may be the only person that is out there helping them go to college. The most important thing that students want is someone just to believe in them and encouraging them to go to college. And sometimes you are that person. So make sure you follow up with them, make sure you're there to encourage them. And at the end of my presentations, I always tell them, I know I gave you a lot of information, but please call me, please text me. If you have any questions, I am here for you. On my business cards, I do have my cell phone because I'm rarely ever at my office. I'm always out in the community or at events, or this was obviously before pre-pandemic, but I have my cell phone on my business card. I let them know I'm always available for them to answer any questions. Texting, phone calls, and emails. I am sure we have all done a lot of these over the past year. And right now we're downloading weekly reports from our PeopleSoft software, and we're seeing which students are applying from which high schools. Of course, my students are the adult students that have already graduated. And as soon as they apply, the next week, I'm sending them an email and either a text or a phone call. Hey, welcome to TMCC. My name is Carlos. I am your recruiter. Let me know if you have any questions. Here are the steps to enroll. Go ahead and complete orientation. Go ahead and apply for your financial aid. And at the same time, we have to make sure the students, they don't know how to navigate our website. So showing them the website, showing them where their student accounts is, showing them their My TMCC, their Canvas account, their email. These are things where a student gets stuck, right? Or they don't know their username or their password, and then that's it. If they don't have someone encouraging them along the way, then they get stuck, and then that's it. You'll see them a year later or 2 years later. And of course, the last one, financial aid assistance and resources. This is the number one barrier that I think students believe they're facing, but in reality, at a community college, this is the easiest barrier for us to remove. Of course, we have the FAFSA application, and then we have our foundation scholarship application, the Jacobs residential program, which Amber will talk more about, and also our applied technology campus scholarships. Tell the students, these are our scholarships that we have for you, and this is what I can help you fill out, and don't worry about the money. We'll help you take care of that. Next slide. All right, a few more strategies. A lot of our students actually do pursue a 4-year degree, and we want to make sure they know they're welcome at TMCC to get up to 60 credits and then transfer them to the university. I'm very proud to say that our academic advisement team, they're experts at knowing which classes to transfer and setting them up with their long-term goal of a 4-year degree. Also, we have a great relationship with the Transfer Center at the University of Nevada, Reno. I see you in University of Nevada, Reno counselors so many times at TMCC, just tabling and giving them assistance. And we wanna make sure, if that is their goal, that we're setting up our students ready for success. As well as knowledge of resources available. Of course, we're not gonna have all those resources ourselves, but as the video experience showed us, as we know our students, they need a lot more resources than the ones we have available. And even though your department of your program does not have those resources, make sure you know which programs or which agencies or which departments have those agencies. The adult student needs a lot of support, and it is key that you know which agencies have that support for those students. For example, here in Reno, we have Job Connect, Joint, CSA, Vocational Rehab, that can help the students with any training supplies or help them pay for some training as well, and also help them find the job that they will need once they graduate from the university or college. And of course, also connections to workforce. I'm very happy to say that we have an awesome career hub here that will help the students with their resumes, job interviews, dress attire, and of course, help them find the job. We want to encourage the student and not only to come to our university or college to take classes, but to finish those classes and also help them find that employment to make them be successful. We're selling them the whole dream and to get them along that way. Next slide, please. So what is TMCC doing for our students? Once we address those barriers, we want to let them know about our short career programs. Here at TMCC, we have skill certificates that are 5 months or 1 semester. Some of them are in the medical field, for example, nursing assistant, phlebotomy, rad tech. And then we also have certificates of achievement, which those can take up to 1 year. And unfortunately, a lot of our students actually don't get to finish the certificates of achievement because the employers are constantly calling our instructors and just begging them to get qualified students to get working and get out there on the field. Just recently, before the pandemic, we had a student in our Jacobs presidential program. He was incarcerated, I believe, 10 years or more. And he started the HVAC program in the fall, in August. And by December, he was already working. I saw him with a jacket and his worker's jacket. And this is one of our favorite students, great attitude, great mindset. And I saw him in December, 3 months later, after he started the program with his employee jacket, suit. And he was so happy to have a job already. He mentioned he was still a little nervous, but the encouragement from his teacher, from his job, just helped him get day to day and fulfill those requirements from the job. Also, we have a continuing education courses through our EPIC program. These courses and trainings, they're not for credit, but the students will get short certifications. Some of them certifications can be computer certifications, like Amber mentioned, Word, PowerPoint, Excel certifications, as well as some certifications in the medical field, like billing and coding, medical assistant, and a couple more of those. When we're talking with the students, we not only want to focus on gaining employment, but also focus on promotion. Some students are very happy where they're working, but at the same time, as we know here, rent is getting a little higher, everything is increasing inflation. So we always want to encourage the students to gain employment or look for promotion if they're already employed, or also switch careers. A lot of our students that we see, they are working, but they are not happy where they're working and they want to look for for different options. So that's key, to encourage them to switch careers in a field that fits them better. Next slide. All right, so now I want to discuss some support programs and resources that every college or university should have. And I'm excited to hear what programs you have, what programs we missed on this list. So please, after our presentation is done, please let us know about what programs you have. Number one, housing. And as a community college, of course, we don't have dorms, we don't have housing available. So we gotta make sure we tell our students where they can find that housing. And unfortunately, right now, we're all in the same boat where this housing market is a little difficult here in Northern Nevada, but we're doing the best we can to help our students. Childcare, another one, that if your institution does not provide childcare, make sure you know which agency your students can get resources for their childcare. Counseling, this is one of the resources that the very first time I meet a student, I let them know about our counseling department at TMCC. Counseling is part of their tuition bill, and especially this last year, we have all experienced higher levels of anxiety, depression, mental health issues. So always encourage the students whenever they're feeling overwhelmed, maybe through midterms or through finals, make sure, hey, go to our counseling department and talk with a counselor to really help you through those difficult times. Tutoring. This is another one that we have to normalize tutoring for every student at the community college or university. I remember when I took my first English 101 class, one of my first assignments was to go to the tutoring center and get one of my papers reviewed by the tutoring center. I just remember like, this is so cool. They're gonna help me write my papers. And then let your students know that the tutoring there is available there for any subject, whether it's group tutoring or one-on-one tutoring. Technology. We have so many students think or try to do their work on their phones or their tablets, and we really want to make sure our students have the appropriate technology in order to be successful, whether that's a laptop, a printer, or an internet connection that works, that runs everything smooth. Let's help our students make sure they have those technology resources. Food pantry, this one is definitely I think my favorite one, where we need students to feel welcome. We need students to know they don't have to make a choice between buying a book or buying groceries for the week. And having a food pantry at your institution, it just sets the welcoming environment that you belong there. That even though, you know, bills are tight, we're not gonna let you go hungry, you or your family. So a food pantry is so important to have for all the students. And last but not least, financial assistance. Always tell your students of all the scholarships that you have for them. College is so overwhelming, but tell them, fill this other scholarship out, and make sure you're always following up to make sure they fill out. And if they need to verify anything, make sure you guys are there to help them through the process. I know the FAFSA application is so intimidating, and but at the end of the day, the student can get up to $6,000 in Pell Grant money, and of course be eligible for so many other scholarships in order to remove that barrier. And now I'm going to hand it over to Amber, and she's going to talk about specific programs that TMCC has in order to support our students.
Thank you, Carlos. Let's see. So we just want to highlight some of the programs that we have at TMCC. We know that all of your institutions have awesome programs too. And right after this, we want to get into and kind of learn a little bit about what you guys are doing, because we like to, you know, have time to share best practices amongst our institutions. And so some of the things that we do here that I think we do wonderfully for support programs once students are actually here. So Carlos and I work mainly with the recruitment, but we also have great retention services. And the educational partnership area actually does things for instance, what was used to be known as reentry. So for displaced homemakers, justice involved individuals, SNAP, different things like that. So it's pretty great for educational partnership area. They do tons of different things for our institution. The program that I run specifically is Jacobs Presidential Scholars. And that's a program that really helps with, it's basically modeled after success coaching. And so because lots of institutions have success coaches, you can consider that the same thing. We want to help students holistically, also with, you know, their life goals, not just their academic goals, but also professionally, personally, things like that. And we help them with financial literacy, job prep assistance, things like that. So it's really important that the adult learners and non-traditional students have a connection to what's happening, not just during their college education, but how's that going to help them in life and in general moving forward. forward. Technology support, we like bang this into your heads, right? Of course, technology support for COVID-19 times has been super huge, but for us at TMCC, we had a great thing started, which was loaning out laptops for students that needed it, desktops at one point in time too, and anything that we could do to help the student get the technology support that they needed. We made sure that was available to them. And Wizards Warehouse is actually our version of a food pantry. The important thing to note for Wizards Warehouse is they're not only located on our main Dandini campus, they're actually in all of the campuses for TMCC, which is great. So a student who's coming over to our Applied Technology Center campus can get the resources that they need for food and just for basic life supplies too. And lastly, we just want to highlight the emergency scholarships that we made available for students. The emergency scholarship program was great. Students could apply for it if they were in need of not just academic kind of resources, but they needed things for their life. You know, they needed to pay that power bill to be able to continue with their studies. They needed a little bit of help on that childcare. Emergency scholarships can really help students, and it shows them that you understand that they're not just a student in that way in the traditional sense, but that we recognize that they have lots of different roles that they're playing in life. So that's really important for us. I want to put on here our contact information. If you guys have any questions following up with this session, Amber Burroughs, aburroughs@tmcc.edu. Email, of course, is the easiest to do because Carlos and I are out there recruiting, which is what we should be doing. And then Carlos Castro-Peralta, Castro-Peralta@tmcc.edu. And if you ever need anything past this, please, please do not hesitate to reach out. We'd love to collaborate with any of your institutions as well. And we're going to go into a question section. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now. And if you guys actually are feeling comfortable, feel free to turn on your cameras at this point. And let's see. Yeah, feel free to turn on your cameras if you do feel comfortable with it. And if you have any questions, you can either unmute yourself or you can put it in the chat too, and we can address them there. And if we don't have too many questions, then we'll just go into breakout rooms and just get to talk about really fun things. So, hi, Carrie. Aw.
This is Sydney with GBC. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. So I had a question about TMCC because you talked about all of the subcategories that make non-traditional students. Do you implement any methods to kind of figure out where your students fall within those subcategories and how you track that?
Yeah, so that ends up for the non-traditional students. We don't see it as much on the recruitment side, but for retention, we definitely have just different methods in place. And one of the systems that we use a lot is Starfish. I don't know if you guys are using the Starfish.
Yeah, we're using Starfish, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So like as the retention service, using Starfish so that, you know, instructors can flag when they realize that a student might have a need based on being a non-traditional student without even knowing that. And yeah, and for us though, what we see at the community college level is we actually consider that the majority of our students are going to be non-traditional in some sense.
Yeah.
So for us, it's less important to do that. But I will say that if at your institution, you can contact your institutional research, and a lot of times they have data on that, depending on what they asked in your application.
Yeah, I was just wondering, like on the recruitment side, if you guys have any like initial inquiry, so you can kind of figure out what services that those students are going to need to kind of initially start, you know, helping getting those students in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. And for us, we just kind of treat every student as non-traditional. So we just like, we don't tailor it specifically to that student saying, you know, that you are a single parent, but in our one-on-one communication with them, we make sure to ask those questions.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Debbie, did you get any questions from, we do have some questions if you'd like us to ask those.
I have not received any questions, but y'all can feel free to just turn on your video or place it in the chat box. There, Jeff here from UNR did put for students looking at a trade skills labor, there is a scholarship, and if you put in the chat, he sent it to everyone. There's a link there.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, if we don't have any other like main questions, I would actually love to go into our breakout rooms and ask you guys some different things so that we can start a little bit of a dialogue while we have a little bit of time left. So Deborah, can you send us to some fun breakout rooms?
Yeah, I will do that right now. Just give me a second.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I want to give a shout out
Okay.
to Carolyn Taylor from University of Nevada, Las Vegas. She was my old boss for 10 years, and it's nice to see you, Carolyn.
How cute.
That's nice. So
Thank
we
you,
have
Carlos.
about, I'm going to put you in the breakout rooms and I'll let you know we have to end the session in about 9 minutes or so, about 8 minutes. Okay, I'll pull you back into the session in about 8 minutes. Okay, so I'll let y'all go now.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. Hopefully you had a great breakout session. I'm putting here in the chat a reminder to go back to your go back to the original Summit website for the link to your next breakout session, which begins at 10:30. You have a little bit of time to, like I said, go take a little break, get some coffee and so forth. Thank you so much, Amber and Carlos. That was an incredible presentation. We really appreciate you joining us this morning. And then I wanted to also remind you that on the website, the Summit website, there's also some evaluations that you could do as well. We ask that you do that at the conclusion of today's session. And thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again in about 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you
Bye.
all. Thank you so much for joining.